everything lost will be renewed. Long ago in the garden it was to be, now a dream fulfilled in you and me. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hi, my friends. Welcome back. I just had a quick thing this time. This is not a long episode, but this is a mini episode, if you will. A couple weeks ago, I was out working, and I was just overwhelmed with the presence of God in just a moment that just brought me to tears. I had to stop on the side of the road there. I wash windows for a living, for anyone who doesn't know, and I was washing some windows at a store right on the side of a parking lot there on a sidewalk, and I just had to stop and worship God for a minute. But as I did, right in the middle of that, God spoke to me, probably one of the loudest things I've ever heard. And it was, I'm not even sure if it wasn't an audible voice, but if it wasn't, God spoke so loudly to me that it was so clear in probably the most vibrant way that I've ever had him speak to me. This message, he just downloaded it to me, and it's very simple. I shared it at my church, and so I'm going to let you hear that in just a minute. But the simple word is that what you've had till now is not enough. What you have had in your life that has been good, that has been established by God, that has kept you, God wants to give you something new because it's necessary for the future of your life, for the future of the world. It is necessary for his people to have something new that he wants to pour into us at this point. And what he said was real simple. He said, whatever you have had until now, it's not enough. And he said that very loud and clear, and then he began to speak more that he said this is a message that is always true to anyone, but he said this is a message that is true for me personally. But he said this is a word for the church at this time in history, that everything that the church has had up till now is not enough for what he wants to do. He desires to be able to use his church and put his church into places that they haven't understood before, and they aren't really seeing exactly where they're going to go. Not that no one has any vision or purpose in that, but that it is an unknown, and what we have till now is not enough is not what we need for what we're going to encounter. So it's, like I said, it's a message that is always true, and we know we've heard it in different ways about, having your oil. You can't go purchase it when the time comes. You have to have it prepared ahead of time. But I felt God spoke this very, very clearly to me, that this is something each one of us, it's for each one of us, for our church and for the church universally, that if we don't seek it, if we don't deliberately do that with true intention, then we will find ourselves lacking. We will find it personally, as a church and as the church on the earth. God is calling us to reach out. It's available. What we need is readily available. God is trying to produce it in us. And like I said, this is not a message that is strange, but I do believe that our tendency is to feel like what we have, because God has given us real things throughout our life. He's given us very real things, and that is very good, and it has sustained us. It has given us purpose. It has allowed us to be strong in hard times. It's allowed us to have purpose when other people didn't have vision. We had something that we understood, and that was all real. It was all true, and it was all good. But God is saying there is something, not one thing, there is a necessary outpouring that he is calling for his church, for us, and for us individuals. We must receive it in order to be equipped, in order to be prepared to deal with. And we look at things on the horizon. We look at different things. We have ideas and we have fears. And I'm not even going there with what I'm saying. I don't know what the future is going to hold. I'm not trying to predict anything like that. I'm just saying that's what God told me, and it was one of the most powerful moments I've ever experienced in his presence and just with the intimacy and closeness. This is while I was working, and I really believe that this is something that each one of us needs to take to heart, really begin to pray and seek for, because God will open up when the doors of heaven are open. The storehouses, the things that we need are available, but we have to seek for them. We have to reach out for them. They don't just appear in our hands. We don't get a welfare check from heaven that just shows up, or our card gets recharged at the beginning of every month. That's not the way it works. We actually have to go to God and actually demand it. That's what he says to do, to come boldly before his throne of grace. And we have to do that. And if we don't have that purpose and that vision, then oftentimes, especially if we fall prey to the tendency, which is to be comfortable and accept that, okay, God has dealt with me, he's given me things, and I'm good to go. That's all true. It has been. But he's saying there's a new thing. And this might be a bigger picture. It might be a very specific thing. Like, I don't know how many people know that on 9/11, the Times Square church, God spoke to them weeks in advance and said, you need to buy bottles of water and you need to buy basic first aid supplies, and they didn't have a clue what was going on. And they stocked up on more than just that, but they stocked up on first aid supplies and bottles of water. And they were the only ones, when 9/11 happened, they were the only ones who they were out on the street within hours, helping people, delivering water to people in need who are walking down. We saw that big cloud of dust that went down to, people. They were there on the street, able to meet those needs within hours of 9/11 because God had spoken to them to do that. So it can be very specific, that something you need to know, something you need to have right away. And I think it's that plus bigger things as well. Longer term things, I should say. That's not a small thing to have heard that from the Lord. And so I really do, I want everybody to take that to heart, because that's exciting. That's a call, that's a purpose, that's a job, that's a ministry, and that's vision for the future that he will give us, instead of, what's the big question that everybody asks? Well, what should I do for God? Well, this is, God is saying, hey, I want to be able to equip you, but you actually have to ask, you actually have to seek and find those things, and God is readily available. He's wanting to pour himself out on those things. I believe that this is a prophetic word from God that he spoke to me, and I believe that if we will hear it, he will open up heaven. He will open up what we need. And I believe that in this time in history, God is desiring to have a people that are hungry for him, and that he can give an outpouring such as we've never seen. The new covenant, Paul said, is a down payment. It's a down payment. I want to see the fullness. And so I think that's what God is calling for us at this time in history. Love you guys. Talk to you next time. We will be the ones to see it through, and everything lost will be renewed. Long ago in the garden it was to be, now a dream fulfilled in you and me. Whoa.